Welcome to the Hi-Fi Housewives podcast. I'm Blakely.
And I'm Kylie.
We are currently working towards our Masters in the Maasverse. Our current course is focused on Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah Janet Maas. Today we're chatting chaps 49 through 56.
Warning, while we may be your silly gal pals, we do not recommend listening to this podcast around little ears or ears that may be offended because we say bad words and shitty things. Let's start out with a fuck, marry, kill, Blake. I've
Okay.
actually got several for you. I couldn't help myself.
All right. Go ahead.
Let's start with the villains of Crescent City. Pollux, Rigulus, and Micah.
Fuck. That's terrible.
It's the villains, and so I had to make it really bad.
Okay. I'm going to marry Micah. I'm going to fuck Pollux and I'm killing Rigulus.
Are you marrying Micah before or after he was incinerated and vacuumed?
That is the question. I just think that I would have a lot of money coming my way after he died. So I'm trying to think ahead of myself.
Gal.
Mm-hmm. What is yours?
I would definitely 86 Rigulus. I'd probably no, I'm gonna 86 Pollux because I know he's not kind to the hind. Once again, I'm a rapper.
Well,
and then
Rigulus is really kind.
yeah, I guess I'm fucking him and marrying Micah right before he gets offed because yes, money. Because I think that's the only answer for that one.
So in the graphic audio, Rigulus's voice, I don't know how to say this. I don't think he likes women. So yeah.
Elizabeth Evans does not have the same voice for him.
No, it's different. So just the graphic audio makes me believe that Regulus, not a fan. He would like to peg Micah, probably.
Yeah, what are you doing here? I'll save the hotties for next week.
Okay.
I was also looking up Orion and Star lore, and we've talked about this before, but we look up a lot of stuff, so I forgot. But Orion was subsequently seen by Odysseus in the underworld, for the Greek hero observed Orion hunting the wild beast found within the realm of Hades. The likeness of Orion was to be found in the heavens, for Artemis was said to have asked Zeus to place the hunter there. And once again, I just feel like this is how SJM found her inspo for the Umbra Mortis and how he was hunting demons. And it does have relevance in this episode, but when I was looking up stuff, it wasn't for this episode.
That's how it always works.
I also would like to apologize in advance to our listeners. I go off on witches today.
You do. You go a little hard in the paint. You go hard in the paint for the witches today. Bitches love witches.
I had a lot of feelings.
Yes, you did.
Big feelings. Now relax those shoulders, unclench that jaw, clench that clam, and let's get into it. Chapter 49. Rune lets his probably hot roommates know that he made it out A-okay. They let him know that they have new roommates. Yay! Rune is concerned about his insurance after meeting the fire sprites. Not so yay. And then he learns about the drag and how none of them are there legally. Even more not yay. Rune was definitely out of yays. Over at the meat market, Hunt is also not saying yay. He's pissed, quite frankly, that it was the Viper Queen that had a meal and Bryce knew. He compared Bryce to Shahar, but not out loud. When he finally sees the bike, guess what she is doing? Aside from wearing a sick silk green jumpsuit and purple lipstick, she's smoking. She's so important.
She's single-handedly bringing back smoke, okay?
I would not be obsessed with it. Like, I'm infatuated with it if it wasn't for the Vipe. I honestly don't think I would have gone on this crazy tangent where I'm now on the smoking side of Instagram if it was not for the Viper Queen.
I don't know. Smoking's always been cool, so who's to say? So the Viper Queen sent one of her human lackeys, a henchwoman, a merc, and I just picture in my head that it was the merc from ACOTAR. Was it? No. But I just feel like Sarah gave quite a bit of details about the merc in ACOTAR, so we got nothing really from it, but my imagination, it's her. It does make me giggle though, because so many people think that the merc in ACOTAR is Fury. And no, no,
No,
no,
we would know.
no, it's
There
not.
would have been more like, was there descriptors of that Merc too?
She's tall. Yeah, like there are, but it's not the same. It's not the same as Fury, and Fury has so many other Easter eggs to something else. It's not like Danica's like, were you the merc from Prithian? Like, no.
Yeah, Fury's got other things to do than, you know, I think she's too busy for that.
Yeah, it just is a silly theory that I've always been like, hmm, okay.
I've never heard that. No, I like yours. I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Bryce asks for a minute alone with Emil, and so she lets him know that his sister's 86 from life and that she understood because of the whole Danica thing. Hunt stops being a spicy angel and tells Emil people have tried to use him for his power too. So Emil's like, what power? And then Hunt learns Emil has no powers. Bryce explains that it was made up to save him, and now she owes the Vipe a favor. Hunt is not impressed. So yay, they found Emil. I am concerned about the amount of yays that I used when
There
I
was a lot of yays. Chapter 50. Bryce wanted to get to the bottom of how Sophie and Danica knew each other. Emil told her that she found her through her gift, aka Bloodhound, and needed her to do some intel for her because she was too high profile. Emil also has no idea what the markings on her arms mean. Hunt was like, okay, what the hell do we do with them now? And Bryce is like, fret not, you winged angel baby. Fury is here to take him to his new home. He's being adopted by my parents. No bigs. So ship between Bryce and Hunt is as tense as Kyle and Amanda on Summer House. Bryce told him just because they're fucking doesn't mean she answers to him, and he's like, babe, pretty sure it's more than fucking. They leave by huffing fine to each other, and yeah, it's not great.
It says that Bryce's eyes iced over, and I just feel like, did Hunt's hell like leak into her?
Well, that's what she said. You know? Bryce heads to Runes and is greeted by fire sprites and a naked drag, which is interesting. She got the rundown on Ethan and his rash decisions and got a dash of fire sprite lore. So, Crescent City Community College Fire Sprite Edition. I thought I would give us some insight into sprites mythology. Sprites in general were prominent in European mythological folklore. They are believed to have magical powers and were often associated with nature. Sprites were believed to be sprites of the dead. Nope. Sprites were believed to be spirits of the dead, and some actually believed they are messengers from God. One of the most common beliefs is that they have the power to protect humans from evil and supernatural forces, which, considering what our girl Lahaba did for Bryce, that tracks. Now, fire sprites in particular are believed to come from the Earth's fiery beginnings and are considered one of the oldest types of fairies. So there doesn't seem to be any other fire sprites in the Maasverse, but I like the thought that they are messengers from gods, and I have hope that if we ever get Twilight of the Gods, that we will know more. Also, very, very off the wall thinking, do you think Lahaba technically did the yielding to save Bryce?
I mean, ooh. Do we think fire sprites are witches?
They're from Sky and Breath.
But witches are earth and blood.
Oh, they are. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yes, they are. I know for a
Okay.
fact.
Okay. You're like, I know a lot about witches.
I looked at last night because I wanted to know like who housed what god, and Cthona is Earth and Blood because she is the goddess of Earth. And then witches are in there, which is why they. Her little pin. I promise.
I believed you.
The internet has PTSD.
It has. Bryce asks if there's any way out of this and saving the sprites, and they let her know Mark is on it and it will be paid for. They find out that the drag was a gift to the astronomer from an archangel. Bryce is like, girl, Rune and I can come up with some BS on why we need you. Ari wants to know why she would help, and she explains her mate was once a slave and slavery needs to end. Ari was shooketh to learn her mate was Orion Athalar. Interesting she knows him by his government name. The sprites want to tell her that their heir needs to hear the tale about Lahaba, but apparently she is MIA and was last heard to be sold to one of the Asteri. As soon as Bryce leaves, she gives Jessica a call to try and get her help with the drag. Once she got to work, she had a package delivered by Jessica with analysis of dragon fire dating back 5,000 years, with a note explaining drag fire can kill, drag fire can harm the Prince of Hell, specifically the Prince of the Pit's hide.
Reminder that Ariadne is of Greek origin, meaning most holy. And Jessica's response to this was interesting. Is that what she calls herself? Fascinating.
Especially with Jessica's name, meaning God's beholden or vision. So let's talk about dragons in mythology for a little bit. Specifically, the role in Dante's Inferno, which was a story about the journeys through hell. Here's what I found from dragonuniversity.com. I just really liked that's what it was called.
Wait. Is it really dragonuniversity.com?
Yes, I'm not even fucking with you. So I was like, okay, I trust you. As a community college, I'm going to trust Dragons University.
Naturally.
Mm-hmm. Dante utilizes this traditional symbolism and incorporates it into his narrative of hell. In Inferno, dragons guard the entrances to different circles, preventing anyone from escaping or entering without facing the consequences of their actions. Just want to mention, in ACOTAR, when they're going into the hewn city in the Court of Nightmares, she describes that the gate sculpture has like dark beasts in it, and she said that she can almost hear it. And what if it's dragons? Just want to throw that out there. The image of the dragon in Inferno not only represents the wickedness of the damned, but also serves as a warning to the living about the consequences of their choices. The dragon's ferocity and power highlight the severity of the sins being punished in each circle of hell. While the dragon typically represents evil, Dante also incorporates elements of divine punishment into the imagery. In Christian traditions, dragons can be seen as instruments of God's wrath and retribution. By employing this symbolism, Dante emphasizes the moral dimensions of the punishments depicted in Inferno. The dragons in Inferno are not merely frightening creatures, but are also enforcers of divine justice. They ensure that the sinners receive their appropriate penalties for their actions on earth. This portrayal aligns with the belief that sinners must face the consequences of their deeds, and divine justice will be served. So, a few things. If dragons were used to guard the circles of hell, Jessica would definitely be like, really? That's what you're calling yourself, Ari? Like that, I could see that reaction. And with the information we now know about dragons being able to burn the princes of hell, it makes you really wonder where dragons came from and who was controlling them, or like what their duty was. And what happened 5,000 years ago to have ancient scholars writing this down? Whose research is this? And God, 5,000 years ago is haunting me in multiple theory threads I'm working on in the Maasverse. So this just is another thing to add to the list.
Maybe it all does come down to drags. Like they are the cause of everything 5,000 years ago. SJM was finally getting on the dragon boat.
She's like, hey, I know
Dragon
these series are really popular, but what if I added dragons?
Chapter 51. And this does not have a lot of notes from us, just a lot of action because we have a lot to say in other chapters. A lot. Hunt went to see Celestina, and immediately she knew him and Bryce had gone to Pound Town because she could smell him. She's happy he got laid and is officially mated. It seems like she is unaware of his shenanigans and being caught by the Hind. Celestina says she has a meeting with Baxian, so he gets a little nervous, but just has to keep playing it cool and hope Baxian says nothing. I like that I made it plural in there, and so I laugh at my own errors. I also love that I was looking up stuff about stars for fun at the beginning of the episode, about Orion hunting demon, because in this chapter he was to give Celestina his expertise on some demons slipping in through the Northern Rift, not into him, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I was slipping in, you say?
Oh, I hate myself in the way I write. Hunt hunted down the Hind, and she acted like nothing happened and told him to go see what the harpy did to the angel's gate. What's wrong with me? Why did I put so many H's in there?
You just love an H.
What is wrong with me? 10 minutes later, Hunt was at the Crystal Gate in the heart of the CBD and saw that the Lightful Squadron was tore up there. It was pretty gross, and Hunt officially had the ick because he was now associated with the harpy who did that. Rune got the all clear from Hunt about not being caught by the Hind. Hypaxia, on the other hand, just showed up, and he's got 3 fire sprites and a dragon.
Chapter 52. So, the River Queen, real paranoid. She's feeling slighted by her sister that she didn't share her info about her boats. She wants Therian to find out everything that he can about these boats because she doesn't want her sister to come after her beloved river. Therian is to continue his search for Emil, which he's about to do, but guess who shows up? Athy boy. Rune stared at his pretty future bride, Hypaxia, and was super into her Mary Poppins-like broom brooch. Hypaxia came to the Fae frat house to chit-chat because she wants him to be his escort to the mating ceremony. She doesn't trust her witch coven. They're real shifty. We get into Hypaxia lore and how her mother isolated her, but summoned 3 ancient wise spirits to teach her. One for battle and physical training, one for math and science, and the other for history, reading, and languages. She oversaw her magical training, specifically healing. She feels like the coven wants Lydia to be the figurehead, but have Morganthia, her mother's general, to rule. They don't like her necromancer ways. And now, with her mother gone, the coven has a different vision and wants to have a closer bond with this Steri. Hypaxia fears they will try to take her out, and Rune is like, cool, I have a sunball player that can be your guard. I almost said guide. Hunt wanted to pass on info about demons so the Blue Court would know. He tells Therian there's a Death Stalker, which is the Prince of the Pit's assassin, and he keeps them as pets. And it once gave Hunt a killer scar. He goes on and is like, hey, I know where Emil is, call off your search. Therian and Hunt seem like they might have a little rumble, but he lets them know Emil has no powers and he has no intel besides Sophie and Danica knew each other. Therian knows the RQ will be pissed about this, so he's going to milk his freedom as much as he can before telling her the truth.
Witches in the Maasverse 102, because I've definitely talked about witches before, but I want to start out with Hypaxia's broom. It was described as a stunning piece of art, every inch of its handle carved with intricate designs of clouds and flowers and stars, each twig in the base carved as well and bound together with golden thread. And Hypaxia really emphasized that her broom was different, and that's why she had to shrink it down into a brooch of Cthona. She specifically said, especially a broom such as mine. And once again, I feel like there really is a blue blood connection. In Throne of Glass, the blue blood matron, Cressida, had a barbed crown of stars, the one that they claimed she needed because the blue blood line ran so strong, their leader needed more iron and pain to keep them tethered to this realm. They had an insane devotion to the 3-faced goddess, the same one that blessed all Iron Teeth witches with iron teeth and nails to keep them anchored to this world when magic threatened to pull them away. So that would explain the stars on it. Blue Bloods had rituals in the forest, so that could easily explain the flowers, clouds, and stars because they're witches on a broom in the sky. Also could be said to, cloudberries and the gods in the skies.
Kai has already made the case that she believes that Petra Blueblood may have been one of the tutors. So I want to just throw a name out there for who I think one of the ancient tutors are. Specifically, the one that was in charge of healing. Hafiza, who is the healer on high of the Tor Chesme. We learn about her in Throne of Glass series, specifically Tower of Dawn. Now, the Tor Chesme was in Antica on the southern continent, and as you know, our theory that Valbara is the southern continent, it could make sense. Plus, I picked her because it said she has a very motherly feel to her and like was like a second mother to Yrene, and I could see that with her being one of the companions. But I know you had a different thought.
This is like one of the few times we actually don't agree on this, which rarely happens. But I wrote Nusha in my notes originally. Hypaxia says, my mother summoned 3 ancient wise spirits to teach me, one for battle and physical training, one for mathematics and sciences, and the other for history, reading, and languages. So Nusha was the head librarian, fluent in 15 languages, and trained at Parvani, the city of libraries. Nusha was described as an invaluable resource and always found info Yrene needed, no matter how outlandish the request. Nusha was also the one that they suggested that they go to Xara. And those are the reasons that I picked Nusha over Hafiza, because I think battle and physical would be Petra. And then we learn in 2 chapters from now that Polania is her math and science gal. So that would leave history, reading, and languages to Nusha.
It's either is possible for sure, but I get you.
Yeah.
I get it. The healing, especially, like.
So I just finished Tower of Dawn, and I cannot help but think of Hypaxia's lineage. Her and Lydia have different fathers, same mother, but both are remarkable veneer. And I think Lydia has Dorian and Manon in her bloodline on her father's side, and we'll get more into that in book 3 on why I think that. But now I'm second guessing whether or not the Hind's golden eyes come from the witches we know of Aurelia or the healer Silba, who I think is also a witch or a god that the witches pray to. Yrene Towers is Silva's heir, and Yrene also has gold eyes. At the Tor Kesme, there are bells which symbolize healers who pass through the Tor. In Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, when Rune goes to visit Hypaxia, he describes the sign for the Medwitch, standard blue neon sign that jutted over nearly every other block in the city. The broom and bell insignia had been rendered in loving care on a gilded wooden sign on the outside, but the only old school looking thing about the place. So clearly that bell is a nod to Silba, but why would a witch model their insignia after some old goddess of healing and gentle deaths? That's because healers are witches. The witches in Valbara are described as a strange, unique group. Though they look like humans, their considerable magic and long lives mark them as veneer. Their power mostly passed through the female line. The power was inherited from some ancient source that the witches claimed was a 3-faced goddess. More thoughts on this later. But witches did pop up in non-magical families every now and then. Their gifts were varied from seers to warriors to potion makers, but healers were the most visible in Crescent City. So I think that Silba is a witch, and based on our thoughts of Lunathion being where the southern continent is, Silba's healing magic was passed down to the current queen of the witches. We met Hypaxia first as a medwitch because she is a witch with healing powers as well as potion making. No magic other than that, she's got wind from her dad, but just a long life. Similarly, in Throne of Glass, the Iron Teen Witches were gifted warriors with iron teeth and nails with a long life. No magic other than the yielding, but that long life. Yrene had the gift of healing, but we're not sure what her lifespan could have been, as hers was tethered to Chaos, and he was a mortal. No other magic for Yrene. Witches are given a gift of a long life, and we never know what could have been for Yrene. Maybe SJM did that, so it would be more of a challenge to connect witches to Silba. And I'm sure people will question about, what about the Fae healers of Doranel that had Silba's gift? Just that, they were Fae healers. Yrene was not Fae, and she was bestowed the title of Silba's heir. Iron Teeth witches look human, minus their iron teeth and nails, which retracted. Krakens looked human, but were beautiful and hid as healers and wise women. Witches looked human. It's interesting that they hid as healers. Did they know that they could cosplay as healers because healers are witches?
Mm-hmm.
Which also, this makes the 3-faced goddess a little more interesting if there truly are 3 types of witches, Iron Teeth, Kraken, and the healers from Silba. which also brings more questions about the yielding. When a witch yields, they emit that bright light that blows everything to smithereens. Irene's light killed the Volg. Is the yielding like a supercharged version of Silba's light?
Like a healing light. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it does heal, but it
Right.
specifically kills the Volg. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mentioned, the iron teeth and everything, but I didn't talk about like seers we've seen. Elaine is a witch. She's a seer.
Mhm.
Nesta's a witch.
Yeah, because we all know how we feel about their mother. She got that witch in her.
I definitely think that the healers are witches in Throne of Glass, and that bloodline, Silba's bloodline, is passed down to Hypaxia.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one because like yeah, exactly what you said about Irene, like her mother who was also a healer, she wasn't Fae, like she just had a
Potion maker
magical
as well.
yeah, she just had like this magical ability, so it makes the most sense that it would be healing. It would be witches. Just they didn't I don't think they realized they were witches. Sneaky snakes.
Because Silba is on the southern continent, and the southern continent is a place where gods essentially
Mhm.
can rebrand. Uh, and so, who's to say that the three-faced goddess didn't put the face of Silva on to not be associated with the other witches, the Kraken and the Iron Teeth?
Mhm.
Because once again, there's 36 different gods, and multiple gods have merged into one on the southern continent, which we now think is where Valbara or is Valbara.
Mhm. I'm on board.
A lot of food for thought.
I'm on board.
Chapter 53. Rune asks Ethan to be Hypaxia's escort, but not like the kind that gets paid with a happy ending because she's betrothed, of course. Immediately, he's like, you can talk to the dead, right? No chill. Then he's like, do you know about what really happens when you die? Spoiler, it's not nothing. Hypaxia knows of second light, though. She offers up a ritual on Autumn Equinox. He wants to know how she knows, but duh, buddy, she talks to the dead. Rune uses his Royal Highness's reasons of protecting Hypaxia as reason to commandeer the drag.
So I thought we could go into a little autumnal equinox and its Tog counterpart. It seems the sentiment that this holiday is the best time to contact the dead because the veils between the realms are the thinnest are the same across the Maasverse. In Tog, it's called Samhuinn. Samhuinn is mentioned multiple times in Tog, and a couple lines I just want to point out are on Samhuinn, people celebrated and honored the gods when the veils between the worlds were the thinnest. Selene asks Kale if he summoned the dead and tells him to be careful, my friend. The gods and the dead are closest to the earth on this day. Reminder Samhuinn is when she felt that pull to go to the secret passageway underneath. So it definitely tracks, and this would be the best day to do that, but I just was given a little Maasverse tidbit there that they're the same.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
It's a thankless job, and so I figured it's your moment.
Thanks. Really appreciate it. I do my best to stay up on these Maasverse holidays for everyone.
Bryce is avoiding confrontation with Hunt. He showed up at the archives needing her to look something up during non-business hours. He thinks Hell's doing something based on the reports from Celestina, the worst of the pit. He slips in checking on Emil, but Emil's A-okay. Hunt thinks Hell could be testing defenses around Nenya and reminds her that she's got that horn on her back. It sounds like she's got that dog in her.
I know. She got that horn on her back.
She's more interested in blowing the horn in his pants, though. They end up apologizing for being dicks to each other and agree to be a team again. Hunt asks Bryce how she pieced it all together. Bryce told him that the Vipe's queen of snakes and reptiles. She can communicate with them on a psychic level, Sobex included. The Viper Queen's freaky psychic level communication with reptiles. Do you think it's a Damati type gift where with those she's queen of, or just straight up alpha like in Twilight, how they can hear each other but only hear and have to listen to her commands?
My brain goes more Stranger Things hive mind situation.
Wow, we are, totally different. So
I
it could
mean,
be anything.
all are similar. Like, well, it's the alpha twilight, but like, yeah, that I went hive mind.
My first thought was Twilight and like
It's all your
the
first thought,
dog.
always Twilight.
I got that dog in me.
Got that dog in you, dude.
Did you just call me dude?
Yep. Don't know why.
Hunt asks why Nadaros, but a local sun priest owes Randall a favor and forged all the relevant documents and is now Cooper Sawago, her half brother. Her half brother. She told Hunt of a code Randall taught her, and that's what she has been sending to her mom on postcards. He shows her his appreciation for her braids with his mouth on her southern continent. He hides his pickle in her and says, "You like how my cock feels in you, and I am reminded why Hunt is so pretty and has no brains." No teleporting this round, though.
Mhm.
In Marin's mind, he's called today. She gives him the haps on Pippa, retaliating for what happened thanks to Hunt lighting it up. And to be safe in Crescent City, Rune tries to steer the combo in a casual direction. She basically calls him a whiner for just bitching about his daddy issues and tells him that this is war. They both have been beaten and burned by their dads, so he wasn't special. Rune was over it. He was joining Captain Whatever as Prince of Nothing. And I just want to say, you know who else was in this group of whiners? Kaol, Lord of Nothing.
Like we said today on the phone, we had Ethan, wolf with no den, Adian, little baby back bitch, just in general. I hate him.
Like I would not. That's like the worst blunt rotation ever.
Mm-hmm. And even if you add Tamlin in there too, like now I'm picturing that 70s show when they're down below and they're all smoking weed and they're going, but it's like the blunt rotation of the baby back bitches. That is the worst.
I do not want to be present for that.
No, not
Like
at all.
that ain't it. The Hind says, so your father doesn't like you. You're not the only one. So your father beat you and burned you. So did mine. This foreshadowing that fire comes from her father's side. Once again, I have so many thoughts of their lineage in the next book.
I know. It is difficult having to keep it all in. Chapter 54. Bryce and her mama were chatting about their new son and how it's going great. Big fan of Koopaloop being in the fam, and right as she's getting off the phone, guess who walks in, Kylie?
Who?
The Bottom King. He was not impressed with her mating with Athy, though. He claims that he had her betrothed to Hormak because of Avallen's protection. Apparently, it's real difficult to get there. Curious. Actually, let's just stop and get into that. Avallen Community College. While I mentioned some of this in our House of Earth and Blood episode, I think it's time for us to revisit. Avallen is said to be inspired by Avalon. I really like dabbleinthe.divine.com's description and explanation of the significance of Avalon. Avalon is more than a place. It's a realm between worlds where the veils between the seen and unseen is thin and the air hums with ancient magic. Long whispered about in Arthurian legend and goddess lore, Avalon has been called the Isle of the Apples, the sacred isle in the realm of the priestesses. It is a place of deep feminine wisdom, healing waters, and spiritual initiation, a sanctuary for those who walk the path of the heart. The legendary myths of Avalon are said to have been conjured by the high priestesses who concealed the island from the eyes of those not ready to enter. These myths acted as a living veil, a magical threshold between the ordinary world and the sacred isle. Only those invited, initiated, or deeply attuned to the rhythms of the earth could pass through. In spiritual symbolism, the myths represent the state of liminality of the in-between space where transformation happens. Just as dawn is neither night nor day, the myths of Avalon hold the space between the mundane and the mystical, allowing seekers to step into a higher realm of wisdom. In Celtic and Arthurian traditions, Avalon was a place of healing ruled by powerful priestesses who guarded the old ways. It is said that King Arthur, mortally wounded in battle, was taken by boat to Avalon so that his wounds might be tended by the Lady of the Lake and her sisters. The isle was associated with the goddess in her many forms and honored as a center for learning, magic, and connection. to the other world. I feel like there's so much we could take away from here, and we'll continue to explore it, especially once we get into the House of Flame and Shadow. But let's get back to Autumn. Kylie's always wanting to get back to Autumn. Bryce and Autumn continue their back and forth, and then he drops the bomb. That Bryce swinging her big dick title around changes some things. Her official name change is in the works now. Before he skedaddled, he saw the number that was on Sophie's arm scribbled on a paper. He's like, "What the heck is that? You need to be more careful." And then says, "I know what it is you're searching for. I've been searching for it for a long time." Bryce says, "And what is that?" And he responds, "Truth." Like, truth teller? Sorry.
There are times when Daddy Autumn is a good man. He told Bryce, Cormac is powerful. His household strong. I want you in Avallen because it is a safe hold. Even the Asteri cannot pierce its mist without permission. So old is the magic that guards it. And he found watching Micah harm her unsavory. That screams, I love you, daughter.
Unsavory.
I mean, he probably could have used a different word, but unsavory was it, you know?
It just really proved the love to you. There's such a low
That
bar. Like, all he has to do is say a little couple sweet nothings, and you're like, wow, father of the year.
it's like Rob on Traders. He's just so hot that you're just blind to everything else.
Of his manipulative ways. You're just like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. He's so hot, it's fine. I'm really curious where the family name Danann came from. I want to compare it to Celtic mythology. The Tuatha De Danann was a race of gods who migrated to Ireland. It was said that Danu was their mother. So in Irish myths, these gods were often called the people of the goddess Danu. Okay, so fae magical beings are similar to gods in these myths, but also SJM draws a lot from the Tuatha De Danann, which we will get more into eventually. But Danu is a prominent Earth Mother goddess in Celtic mythology, often regarded as the matron of fertility, wisdom, and the elemental forces of nature, particularly associated with water. Danu sounds a lot like Cthona, the Earth goddess.
Definitely.
They just seem to go perfect hand in hand for this.
Definitely parallels. Bryce was having a very bad, no good day. She's an official princess with a new identity and a credit card to prove it. Dance didn't go well, June wasn't there, and there was a lot of judging eyes for her shenanigans. So she decided to call Hypaxia to get a slice of pie and chit-chat about their life as princesses and how to manage it. They chuckle over the fact that Hunt is now a prince. After pizza, they take a stroll outside and we start getting some witch tea about witches are not as powerful as they once were. Her mother's coven are basically wanting to be Asteri puppets, and she tells her about her tutors. They were about to say their goodbyes, but a gray-scaled beast came out of nowhere and had his jaws on Ethan's neck. Aw, shoot. I care so much.
We weren't Cauldron blessed in this moment, and Ethan lives. We get more about Hypaxia's lineage. She says, our mother was as golden haired and as tan skinned as she was. My father, however, I take after his coloring, as in the hind. And then a rich and powerful stag shifter, Pangera. My mother never told me the details of how they came to breed, why she agreed to it, but the hind inherited her father's powers, not the witch's gifts, and thus she was sent at age 3 to live with him. I want to say that Dorian in Throne of Glass does learn how to shift, and so this does point to lineage from him on on the hind's father's side. Just really building a case for it. It says they remember a time before the Asteri when the Parthos still stood. And Hypaxia says, yes, one of my tutors, Polania, taught mathematics and science at its academy. She was born in the city surrounding it and died there too, so did generations of her family. Once again, Polania is the only name we get from Hypaxia, and that is including in the next book as well. But the whole born in the city surrounding it and died there, it gives Torquesme and like Parvani.
I mean, when we talk about witches and their dying power, it feels like history is repeating themselves. The leadership of the witches in Tog partnered with the king of Aderlin and the Volg, but luckily there were witches who rebelled. It just looks like it may be happening again. Dun, dun, dun.
Chapter 55, but not that chapter 55.
Aw.
A demon ripped out Ethan's throat, so that's not great. It had a broad, flat head, black curved fangs, matte gray scales, a muscular, low slung body, and a tail as long as Bryce with spiked ends. So one would say scary. Hypaxia made Bryce get up, and they got back to back and got the plan together to use Hypaxia's magic somehow to charge Bryce up because they had no other option. Bryce teleported to Ethan while Hypaxia hopped up on her broom in the air. She played chicken with the demon by teleporting around. Hypaxia jumps on top of the demon and slams her blade into its skull. Says the first demon howled like so many beings from the pit. Their eyes were milky, blind. Who else has milky eyes in the universe?
In Throne of Glass, the demon that attacked them when Archer was being a little twat. When the king was dying, he had milky eyes. A lead, when they were in the marshes, was having dreams of dead people with milky eyes. Erwin's bloodhound also had also had milky eyes. Now, our fave milky-eyed son of a gun was ACOTAR, the cereal. And in Crescent City, we have the Knock and the Underking.
I'm curious if they are hell created because a lot of these creatures seem to come from hell, or are they beings created by the void?
Or tomato, tomato. Yeah,
You don't have to answer.
you know, yeah, and especially just because, like, even the Prime is said to have milky eyes, so it's not just like hell creed or like demons, but like with the king having milky eyes, it's like close to death or death. So it could, yeah, I don't know. The underworld for sure.
Because, well, if they die, they could be taken by, second light situation. So question that we can't answer, but it just seems like there is a connection.
I agree.
It also says that stars erupted in Bryce's mind, supernovas, when Hypaxia charged her up. Why?
We tried to figure this out on the phone, and we really came up with because of her power and being a witch and that she's able to see things, maybe different planets and traveling, that may be it. But now every time I see supernova, I think of Xenon, girl of the 21st century.
Same. I will never not think of that.
Mhm.
I'm curious where Hypaxia's wind magic hails from as well, solely because at the Torquesme, the bells are constantly ringing. And so is that a wind gift from Silba? I would have to go do some more research. So I'm not committed to what I just said, but I do want to go look into it if her wind magic comes from her mom's side or her dad's side.
I love your PTSD from
Double check
TikTok.
myself.
I know. The PTSD from TikTok is real for you.
God, people are just crazy. But it will always drive me nuts because people don't even watch what we actually say or read.
No.
Bryce is like, Ethan needs a med witch, but Hypaxia is a med witch. Isaiah shows up with Hunt immediately behind. He identifies the demons as Death Stalkers, personal pets of the Prince of the Pit. Hunt lies on the prince's behalf, saying that they might have a score to settle with Bryce. Hypaxia heals Ethan at this moment and then has him transported to the witch's embassy so that she can see to him personally. Bryce, Rune, Flynn, Declan, and Hunt gathered at the witch's embassy and they share what's the haps. The drag apparently bailed and they try to figure out if the demons were a test from the Prince of the Pit or sent from the witches to kill Hypaxia. Bryce gets chastised for her lucky guess about getting charged up by Hypaxia and their one knife between them, so they get someone guarding her and Hypaxia from the 33rd and from the Ox. Rune decides then to lighten the mood and tell everyone that Bryce is officially a princess after swinging her royal dick around. Good for her.
Good for her.
She's pissed.
Chapter 56. Ethan woke up at Queen Hypaxia's embassy feeling like a failure and real pissed that Ari the Drag bailed. On top of making sure she was still cool with trying to chat with Connor on the autumn equinox, he wants to know if there's anything that could be done with the wolf at the astronomers, which she says, nay, nay, unfortunately. Ethan had visitors with the Fae frat boys and Therian, which made him quite emo, but in a good way. It was cute. What is also cute is Therian and Hypaxia, aka Pax's, secret little friendship. Oh, and Therian asked to move into the Fae frat boys' house.
I hate Ethan. We know this. No secret here. But I love this little group of dorks because they like called it home and Ethan he'd only been their roommate for a week and a half.
It is cute.
It's sweet.
I couldn't wait. We have talked about Cthona a lot, but it's really interesting, Hypaxia, that the witches really seem to worship her. Now, reminder,Chthona's acolytes wore black robes. The Underking refers to her as the Dark Mother, and we're looking at the throne of glass just on a basic level with witches. It really makes you think that Cthona could be a three-faced goddess, which was most likely inspired by Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft and magic, who, yes, had 3 heads. Which, yes, I went into this already during our House in Earth and Blood coverage. But Hecate was the holder of the keys that can unlock the gates between realms. She can unlock the gates of death, and Hecate was seen as a triple deity, identified with the goddesses Luna, moon, in the sky, and Diana, hunting on the earth, much like Diana. While she represents the underworld, Hecate's association with Helios does also exist and could be where Sarah was inspired with Solus. Reminder, gods can be in multiple places at once because they ain't like us. Now, in mythology, chthonic gods or spirits are from the underworld or existed under the earth and were typically represented by death or fertility, which I mean, Chthona is considered the mother goddess and represents fertility, so it truly does fit.
In Hypaxia's workroom, aka her royal suite, she has a small crystal altar to Cthona, and it was adorned specifically on the eastern wall. And she had various tools of worship. Sarah gave us all this detail, and I don't think it's there for nothing. So she also had a large obsidian scrying mirror hung above the small altar. And I think that's really curious. A black obsidian mirror is made from polished black obsidian, which is a natural volcanic glass known for its reflective properties. These mirrors were used by priests for divination, spiritual rites, and religious ceremonies, believing it to reveal hidden truths, provide access to the spirit world, and communicate with their god of night, smoking mirrors, and sorcery, an Aztec god whose name I cannot say. They would gaze into the mirror's surface to seek visions, guidance, or insights from spirits, much as we do in contemporary scrying practices today. It is not used to contact Connor. So why did SJM tell us about this witch mirror at an embassy?
Probably just to tie it all together. Because she,
In a way to connect us to the Throne of Glass witch mirrors and maybe the Ouroboros.
and then adding scrying in there just for ACOTAR. Yeah.
Yeah. Just seems like a nice little way to tie that all together.
Well, and just because in ACOTAR there's such a, I mean, we know there's witches there, but it's like hidden. And I think this is like scrying is witching, like witch stuff. And to have it in ACOTAR is just that proof. You know what I mean?
And I mean, Nesta is called a witch,
Multiple times. Yes.
which do exist.
They do exist. It's just not talked about. But all the clues are there, people. They're all there. Like her mother. Thanks for giggling through our journey with us today. We have new episodes every Tuesday. Join us next week as we get into chapters 57 through 64 for Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath.
Make sure you follow us on social media for all of our latest updates, theories, and more new book goofing. Don't forget to hit subscribe and give us a review wherever you listen. All links are in our info, you giggling gal pals. See you next week.